Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan and today I'm going to show you exactly how to change a fuel pump for a 2002 Toyota Tacoma. Before we get started, I recommend wearing eye protection and gloves. You are working with gasoline. It can be a little bit dangerous, so make sure you're working somewhere very well ventilated, such as outside, and make sure there are no sparks or static electricity discharge. With all that out of the way, let's jump in. Before we even get started, please note that I have the gas filler cap off and hanging free. That way any kind of residual pressure in the tank is relieved and you don't make a big mess. That is actually really key. So first we're gonna come over here on this side of the vehicle, the passenger side, walk underneath it, and we're gonna start our journey right here where the gas tank is, and we're gonna disconnect some of these lines that lead into the top of it so we can drop the tank. Now I can remove the send line, which is this one, and it will be under a little bit of pressure. I get a lot of people asking me, well, how do you relieve the pressure? Well, you take the line off, that's how you do it. The pressure actually helps you push the line off a little bit. Yes, there's gonna be fuel. You're replacing a fuel pump. You're gonna have to deal with fuel. There's a modicum of danger with that. I would wear gloves and eye protection before you even start. What we can do is just kind of peel this safety up and off like that. Just take it off all the way, and then I should be able to just remove the line and a little bit of fuel. Not bad at all. That was not bad. Kind of store that up and away so it doesn't keep draining. See, not bad. And then over the send line, I'm just going to put this little vacuum cap I have over it, and what that's going to do is prevent dirt from getting in there and getting in the fuel injectors. So it's a good idea, and link down below in the description to them. And then we can just kind of sneak our needle nose on this hose clamp and walk it backwards off the barb. There we go. And as these trucks age, it's not surprising if this line hardens to the point where, you know, it crumbles in your hand. What I found helpful is instead of trying to pull the line off, try pushing it with a big screwdriver. That seems to maintain the integrity of the line. There we go. Yeah, see, that worked really nice. And again, I have these vacuum caps, so go ahead and put that over there, prevent any dirt. And then we need to remove this evap line off the top of the tank, and it's the same thing as before. I just use a pair of needle nose pliers. There we go, got that started. We can pull that evap line off. So for this next part, follow the fill neck all the way to right here where it connects to the rubber bit on the top of the gas tank. And then let's go ahead and loosen this 10mm hose clamp. I'm just using a 10mm socket on the smallest 1/4" dry ratchet I have. Sorry if you can't see much. We just need that loose. It doesn't need to be like falling off or anything. And use a large flat bladed screwdriver to kind of peel that back. Be a little gentle with it. You just kind of break the seal and you should be able to walk it back. A little bit of a challenge, but not bad. And there's a line for fumes right here. I'm just going to use my hose clamp plier tool because it's a little challenging to get my needle nose up there. Link down below in the description to this tool. It is awesome. I found it helpful to work it back and forth first like this. And then maybe it'll slide off for me. Yep, perfect. So before we move on to the next bit, let's focus on how we're gonna hold the fuel tank in its place while it comes down. What I've done is put my transmission jack underneath it. It's under a little bit of tension. It's not crushing the tank or anything, just kind of relieving the tank off of its supports. And as I remove those supports, I can let the tank down slowly in a controlled fashion. They do make transmission jacks for the floor, but a normal floor jack with a large piece of wood would work just the same as well. It's actually easier to do it on the floor because it has less distance to fall. Here's something else I like to do is use a ratchet strap to kind of go all the way around the tank and hold the tank to the jack apparatus, whatever you're using. This will ensure that it can't actually fall off out of control and cause big damage. It's not a bad idea and I do recommend it. So right at the front of the fuel tank is 3 12mm fasteners that we can remove, making sure the gas tank is supported. There we go. And we can take a 14mm socket and undo this bolt. Just like that. There we go. Now there's nothing really holding the tank to the truck. So be careful, because the only thing holding it up right now is the jack. And then we're gonna let the tank down very slowly. Get this strap out of the way. Sometimes like it can kind of stick on there. There we go. So we're gonna let it down very slowly in a controlled manner, because there's still two things on the top we need to unplug, and I'm just lowering the tank down enough to get to them. So I've been trying to frame up this angle for a while, and there's just no way I can do it without my hands being in the way. So come up right in here, and right there is the electrical connector you need to disconnect. I will show in further detail once I've gotten them off. So unplug that. And then right there, this line right there is the main evap line. You can disconnect it on the top of the tank, which is what I'm gonna do, or you can disconnect it off the actual charcoal can, whatever's easier for you. And again, I just can't show you because it's at an odd angle, but I'll show you exactly how I did it once it is down and off the truck. So once we're sure we've disconnected both electrical connectors on the top of the tank and the evap, and there was also another vent line that went up to the filler neck that I didn't show, just look around again and again. It doesn't cost you anything to look around, but it might cost you to not. So always look around twice before you start lowering down the tank in a slow and controlled fashion. Make sure the lines don't hiccup on other lines. But this is looking really nice. This is exactly how this should go. Perfect. So let's start with the electrical connectors. This one here is the main one, and you push right where my thumb is on it and kind of wiggle it up. They can just be a little stuck sometimes, so right where my thumb is, you push on that safety and kind of wiggle it up. Might help to have a little bit of a prying implement as well. This one is a little bit different. It has the safety right where my pointer finger is, and then you can kind of shimmy it back. Again, prying implement helps. And then it also has this retainer that is in the top of the tank that kind of holds the cords to the top of the tank, and you have to kind of pinch the sides of this and work its way out, and that's the electrical side done. And here is the actual evap line that I told you I'd show how you get it off. What you do is you just pinch these sides right here like this and work the connector off. Prying implement helps out greatly. This is probably going to be the most frustrating part of this job, but keep at it and you'll get it. And then of course there was another vent line that goes up to the fill neck that I did not show. Again, you just move the hose clamp back behind the barb and push it off, and then the tank will come down. So on the top of the tank itself, you'll see this. I've already cleaned this off very well because you don't really want any dirt or anything getting into the tank. And this is where the fuel pump and sender whole assembly lives. We're gonna have to take that apart and replace just the pump this time. Take an 8mm, and remove all these fasteners. Don't drop them in the tank. And do this somewhere well ventilated, because it is going to create vapors and it's bad to breathe them a bunch in. Here we go. And then we can just kind of carefully maneuver the pump assembly up and out of the tank. Just like that. Very nice. So we can take apart our actual fuel pump here. Just get this hose clamp off of our fuel pump. Sometimes these can be very brittle as well. Be really gentle with this as well, because this can just collapse into nothing. And then right here on this electrical connector, you just push right here and comes out, and you should be able to get your fuel pump out of there. And you can see that on the screen it is super icky, so what we need to do is pop that off the bottom of the pump. So the bottom of the pump, just kind of go around this clip to get it to come off just like that, and then we should be able to get the mesh pickup off there. Should be very gentle, you don't want to break this. There we go, that's really good. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a really good thorough cleaning. So now we can replace our actual fuel pump. Here is the unit I'm using. There is the part number, and the link is located down below in the description. I do recommend getting the Denso unit. That is the OEM for this truck, and I always recommend going OEM when you can. So this is how you'll receive the fuel pump. Go ahead and remove the cap for the bottom and the top, and then just kind of slot it in like this. I have to bend the hose out of the way. Just like that until it fits kind of in its home. And then put the fuel line on. You'll get to this step, open up the clamp while you're pushing the line on. And then once we've pushed the line on enough, go ahead and slink the hose clamp down. Probably easier to do it the other way. And try to put it back in its home where it was. Just make sure that this hose clamp is actually behind the barb itself. So you can kind of gauge where the barb is by looking at the old one. And this one is perfect. So we are good to go on that. Don't forget to plug it in. That's always a bummer. It only goes in the one way till you hear that nice click. And then I've got a new pickup, or strainer, however you want to call that. There is the part number for that, and the link is down below in the description. This was just that Toyota dealer. So I was wrong, you actually have to put the strainer on first, which is fine. Just goes on like that, really easy. And then in the box for the pump comes a brand new clip. Looks like it even comes with a new length of hose, but it looks a little bit small. It might work. It's a little bit too long, so you have to trim that to work, but honestly, this looks fine. It even comes with new hose clamps if you're not super confident in these ability to clamp, but I think these are fine. And then just put the little clip on the bottom of the pump. Just kind of go around it with a standard screwdriver. This just to make sure that it's nice and seated and this isn't going to fall off. This looks really good. And then we can just kind of muscle it into its home. Just make sure that it's sitting down exactly the way that you found it. And now this whole unit is ready to go back in the tank. And we can go ahead and slink in our new assembly, just exactly the way that we removed it. Just like that. If it's fighting you, it's going in wrong until these doingers kind of line up. Then we can start replacing our fasteners. It's really easy to cross thread these, so I definitely suggest doing it by hand. How I'm going to tighten these is just kind of start in the center, don't go all the way down, and then just kind of make your way out. Remember, these are just 8mm fasteners. They're not very robust. You can break them off really easy. I have a particular ratchet I like to do with small stuff like this, just because I like to emphasize just, wrist tight. These weren't on super tight, if you remember, just wrist tight. And then go around a few times, making sure that it is sitting down, because the torque between the metal plate and the tank will want to kind of collapse and swedge out a little bit. So just go around a few times. I'd go around at least 3 times, making sure everything is in its place. Just like that. That is awesome. And the really cool thing about assembly is it's just the reverse of exactly what we just did. So reverse exactly what you did to take the tank out, and the tank will be right back in its spot. So the tank goes in exactly the way you took it out, except for this last part. This is the main fuel feed line for the engine. What you need to do is this red piece that we took off is actually the safety, and it needs to go back on without breaking it. So you get to like this stage, and then you can rotate it around until it goes into its home, and you'll know it because you can look down in there and see the fingers sticking out, and then you'll be able to just go like that, right back onto its home, and that's all done. And then before you put gas in it or go anywhere or do anything, double check every single line to make sure you didn't forget one, especially the evap stuff and the stuff on the very top of the tank. Also make sure that you got the electrical connectors on the top of the tank plugged in till you hear a nice click. And then of course the fuel feed and the 2 evap lines, because there's that one and then the one you can't quite see, but I showed you earlier. And then we should be able to put gas in it and see how it does. Okay, now that it's been running for a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and check for leaks, making sure there isn't any. There's a little bit of condensation on there. It just hasn't evaporated from when I took it off. It's perfectly fine. No drips, no leaks, no nothing. This is good to go. So that is how to change your fuel pump for a 2002 Toyota Tacoma. This is actually surprisingly easy. This is probably the easiest fuel pump I have ever done that is in the tank. Doing this job yourself is gonna save you a lot of money. I can see a dealership charging you probably $700 to do this job. And this to me is not $700 worth of work. This is fairly easy. The pump's not terribly expensive, and this is something you could do on your own, and you probably just need to jack up the truck just a little bit. Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider clicking that join button down below and becoming a member. It's a direct way to help my channel out, and I'd really appreciate it. If you can't do that, I totally understand. A like, comment, and subscription goes a long way to help my channel out. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.